The backup plan to save the housing market and end a crash. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because I want to talk about, calls that are appearing now in the media, or at least I'm getting the press releases, it'll appear in the media soon, for more immigration. For increases in immigration. We've got skills shortages that we need to address here in Australia. We need to open up the country again fully now that the pandemic is behind us, and people need to be encouraged to come to Australia. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a first-generation Australian. I'm the son of an immigrant. I think it's fantastic that people can come to Australia, settle, and build a life. And it's better if they stay here and build a life in the future, because then they contribute to our nation and we build a fantastic society together. But the thing you have to realize is that, there is a strain on the existing infrastructure. If you want to bring more people over, you need to ensure that you have got the capacity and the infrastructure so that you're not, impacting on the quality of life and standard of living of those of us who are already here. It's a balancing act, something that has to be managed. Now, Australia isn't as small as it once was. Our population is growing significantly. So we've got to keep that in mind. 2 years ago, I was talking about this already. I have some videos here. And, Australia's population growth outstrips our water supply, where you just look at our population growth since 2000, over the last 20 years, and you look at it and compare it to our potable water supply. It's not keeping up. Our water is not keeping up with our population, and everything else, don't worry about it. Property, housing costs, employment, water. We need fresh water for the citizens of this country, everyone. And I'm a little concerned that given the current power the Greens have in the Senate, the necessary infrastructure that needs to be built to maintain our water supply to our population isn't going to be addressed. But check that video out if you haven't before. So let's have a look at this, guys, because I don't think anyone is at all surprised that this is going to start appearing on the table. Here it's from buyers groups. We'll start to see it from the Property Council. There'll be more pushes for immigration because it has an impact on investment property, apartments, student accommodation, the universities. Large lobbying groups have a lot of power, and they're going to call for this. Because you want, what would you rather, permanent immigration or temporary immigration? I think you'd want, hopefully, permanent people to come live and build a family and a life and leave a legacy than just temporary, where you come and do your uni, work a little bit, and then leave. You're kind of not going to be, there's value in that, don't get me wrong, but we kind of want to have people building the nation. And it'd be good if we had a few more than just 3 cities on the East Coast where everyone wanted to live in. Just saying. So let's have a look. Maybe we need a land rush. A land rush to densify the main cities. But anyway, let's have a look at this. Population growth slump. Return of immigration to power housing demand. Okay, now housing is starting to cool off. Everyone, we've seen it reported in the media. Let's have a look at some asking prices right at the moment. We'll look at Sydney. Let me just reload this page from SQM. We can see they're starting to flatten, guys. Starting to flatten, starting to dip a little bit. The market may have peaked. It may have peaked. Melbourne. Let's reload this page here. You can see here houses still climbing up a little bit. Asking prices are still up there, starting to flatten. Look at apartments. And Brisbane. Reload the page here. Brisbane. We're still going stupid. We're still going stupid in Brisbane. Even our apartments, everything's going up. So, following a 2-year hiatus, the return of immigration is set to underpin housing demand over the coming decade, according to Pete Wargent, co-founder of Australia's first national marketplace for buyers agents, Buyers. He said net overseas migration has been negative through much of the pandemic. So even after accounting for natural population growth of around 136,000 over the past year, the population growth rate in Australia has dropped to exceptionally low levels of about 0.3%. From 2006 to 2020, the average population growth rate of Australia was 1.7%, which today would imply population growth of close to 450,000 per annum. I'm not sure we'll see that level of growth anytime soon, but even a return to 1.5% population growth equates to an increase of nearly 400,000 per annum, in turn creating a huge demand for housing at a time when construction costs are sky high and stock levels are extremely tight, he said. A post-pandemic pump. The CEO of Buyers, Doran Peleg, said the lowest unemployment rate in 48 years would support calls for a return to strong immigration from business lobbyists. Yeah, so we're going to start seeing that. Let's have a look. We'll look at the Roy Morgan unemployment rate, everyone, because you've got the ABS unemployment rate. Now, there are other players as well that are doing their own assessment. Let's have a look from Roy Morgan. The rule of thumb, take the ABS rate, double it, and then you'll get the Roy Morgan rate. So let's see how Roy Morgan are doing. They're saying we're at 9.7% unemployment and 8.4% underemployment. Okay, so you kind of double it, everyone. Let's have a look. Yeah, yep, unemployment. So, according to Roy Morgan, from March to April, our unemployment rate has increased by, 2%. So it's different to ABS, guys. And I know we like to make fun of the fact that you only need to work 1 hour a week within the survey period to be considered unemployed, but there are only about 15,000 Chads in Australia that can pull that off. Okay, so we got to raise a stein to them if they can pull that off. If you can pull that off, guys, good on you. So, let's get back to this. So he said the headline unemployment rate of 3.85% is the lowest we've seen in half a century. And in some parts of the economy, this has led to skills shortages, such as in retail, nursing, aged care roles, for example. Now, maybe we need to reduce why are there skill shortages in retail? I guess just supply and demand. Of course, skills shortages are not uniform in nature, and not every sector has been impacted by border closures to the same degree. The budget papers assumed a steady return to net overseas migration of 213,000 by 23-24, representing projected total population growth of more than 350,000 per annum. Have a look here. So GDP, yep. We're looking at private demand. The 2021 intergenerational report assumed that Australia's population growth would be slower than previously forecast due to the pandemic and a lower fertility rate, but still sees the total population reaching 38.9 million by 2060-61. So in 40 years, they're thinking Australia will have a 40 million population. 40 million. Well, lads and ladies, I think we've seen why property in Sydney could be worth $3 million in 40 years' time. Can you see our councils and government responding to this need? Hopefully. An increase of 50% or 13 million from today's levels. Given forecasts have consistently underestimated the reality over the past 20 years, it's entirely possible that the population could grow more quickly still. Neither of the major political parties seriously addressed the big Australia question during the recent federal election campaign due to it being a politically sensitive issue. Well, no one wants to talk about it. This is the thing. I mean, there's some arguments that Australia should have a population of 100 million, at least so we can remain competitive in the region. Imagine the economies of scale will get there. There's no problem having a big population if you don't have everyone living in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and WA and Perth and Adelaide. You want to spread your population out. You need to create incentives for people to live in other parts of the country. And you can't blame people for when they immigrate to Australia going to one of the big centres. That's what my father did. His cousin went, by ship. This is when they were trying to grow Australia, so they went out of East Germany, they snuck over to West, and they applied to go to Australia, and they were paid to come here. His cousin went to Adelaide, got off the boat, walked into the Holden factory, and worked there his whole life. A different time. So we'll have to see. Maybe we need to have a land rush. Maybe we need to open up more land in parts of Australia and just give it away. Give it away. But there's so much land that's locked. There's so much that's protected. There's so much that's controlled. We're such a huge country with all this land, but how much of it you'd be surprised you can't even set foot on if you don't tick the right box. We've got racial discrimination laws in Australia limiting who can go in parts of the country. So, Buyers co-founder Pete Wargent said that there would be strong calls for the new government to restrict immigration levels quickly. He said there are plenty of anecdotal indicators of staff shortages at retail outlets, with many shops advertising urgently for new applicants to fill vacant roles, while surveys of job vacancies continue to report exceptionally high rates of vacancy. It's likely that the new government will look to increase the number of skilled migrant workers to address labour shortages, and residency may be offered to temporary visa holders to boost permanent settlement. We already know that Labor wants to increase the number of nurses in aged care homes and doctors in the healthcare sector, and in the short term this means more recruitment from overseas until domestic training programs can be developed in time. This is the thing, you can't really throw... Well, if you want to increase your doctor output or your medical staff output and develop these programs, it can take some time to actually develop the capacity to do that. If you just throw more bodies at a university, hopefully the university will say no, or the medical professionals will say no, we need to maintain a certain level of quality. Because the more people you throw at it, the less quality you get. The less quality of education you get as well. Another area which will face an overhaul is the offering of residency to international students. Australia has for many years been a popular destination for students, but the national relationship with China has cooled, and Australia is now competing with Canada, the UK and other key education hubs as a destination of choice for the best and brightest students around the world, especially those hailing from India. I was always told at university that we were the poor man's United States. If you couldn't afford to go to the US, you'd come to Australia. And here's the thing. If you're an international student coming over here, if you become a citizen, you get educated here in Australia, then you settle and you become a citizen, you build a family and a home. Those are the type of people you want to come to your country. But we're kind of doing a brain drain on people from overseas, but you want the smart, educated people to come over to hopefully improve the overall economic complexity of our country. Hopefully, we'll have to see. Australia has been seen as a popular, wealthy and safe destination for migrants over recent decades. And despite cost of living challenges, I've been speaking to Indians who've migrated over here, and they move back with their families because the cost of living here and quality of life here is worse than back home. The new government should comfortably be able to fill an increasing migration program if that's what it chooses to do. It won't be a surprise to see population growth returning to above 350,000 per annum fairly quickly, and 1 million new people every 3 years requires a great deal of investment in housing. So let's have a talk about this one, guys. What do you reckon? Do you think we will see the floodgates open? I would be shocked if we don't. We're going to see more calls from industry for it. Just, keep your ears open. Keep listening. Look for the calls in the media. We've got worker shortages. We've got shortages of this. We need more skilled migrants to Australia. And the problem is, if you don't make it easy enough for people to build homes, to accommodate people, and for infrastructure to address for the additional load it has, then we get in trouble. You want to make sure people coming over here aren't shortchanged. You sell them this dream. You want them to the dream to be capable, be possible. So we'll have to see, guys. What do you reckon? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I put together here, there are a few ways you can help out. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Sign up for our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. Or contact us if you need any architectural support. Take care, guys. Have a great day. have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, what are the Greens and Labour going to do? They'll open it up.